Dear learners, welcome back to WSE True Stories, where learning English becomes more than just grammar or vocabulary. It becomes a journey into real lives, real challenges, and real inspiration. Today, we bring you a story that is as much about quiet resilience as it is about breathtaking talent. A story that reminds us how greatness often begins in silence, in a hospital room, in the shadow of rejection, in a small boy's dream that the world once said was impossible. This is the story of Lionel Messi, a name millions chant in stadiums, a player considered by many to be the greatest footballer in history. But what most people forget is that before the Ballon d'Ors, the World Cup, and the global stardom, Messi was a boy whose body wouldn't grow, whose family faced financial limits, and whose future looked painfully uncertain. Yet something inside him never gave up, not on the field, not in the hospital, not even when the system seemed to say no. Why is this story important today? Because in a world obsessed with speed, size, and instant success, Messi's journey reminds us that slow, silent, and small can still change the world. So today, you'll strengthen your listening skills, build powerful vocabulary, and more importantly, you'll discover what happens when quiet determination meets bold decision. What if one story could change how you see your limits, and what you're truly capable of? Let's find out. Shall we begin? Lionel Andres Messi was born on June 24, 1987, in Rosario, a modest city in the province of Santa Fe, Argentina. His neighborhood wasn't glamorous. There were no marble halls or golden gates, just dusty football fields, simple houses, and families that worked hard to get by. His father, Jorge, was a factory steel worker, and his mother, Celia, cleaned houses part-time to help support the family. They weren't poor in love or values, but they certainly weren't rich in opportunity. From a very early age, Messi showed signs of something different. He didn't talk much. In fact, he was known for being almost painfully shy. But put a ball at his feet, and the world changed. At just 5 years old, he joined the local club Grandoli, coached by his father. People noticed immediately, the way he moved, the way he read the game, as if he was thinking 2 steps ahead of everyone else. His grandmother, Celia, was his biggest supporter. She walked him to every practice and match. She believed in him before the world even knew his name. But childhood wasn't all joy. At age 10, Messi was diagnosed with a growth hormone deficiency, a medical condition that meant his body wouldn't develop like other children. Without expensive treatment, he would stay small, fragile, and possibly never play at a professional level. The injections cost nearly $1,000 a month, money his family simply didn't have. So while other children ran carefree, Leo faced a painful routine of daily hormone shots. His nights were often filled with needles. His dreams, full of stadiums. And his reality, trapped somewhere in between. Despite everything, he never stopped playing. Not because he thought he'd become famous, but because the ball felt like home. A quiet boy, in a noisy world, found his language in football. What shaped Messi wasn't just talent. It was a family that never gave up on him. A city that made him tough. And a condition that made every match feel like a fight for his future. But this was just the beginning, because the real battle was still to come. At age 11, while most kids were busy growing out of their old shoes, Lionel Messi was still fighting to grow into his. His hormone treatment was only partially covered by the local club, and financial strain loomed over his family like a storm cloud. Clubs in Argentina admired his skill, but hesitated. Why invest in a boy whose body might never catch up with his feet? It was during this time that something remarkable happened. FC Barcelona, thousands of miles away in Spain, heard whispers of a tiny Argentine prodigy. Thanks to a family connection and a series of videotapes, a trial was arranged. Leo and his father flew to Spain, unsure of what awaited them. Imagine being 13 years old, barely 140 centimeters tall, in a foreign country, trying to prove you belong among giants. At the trial, Messi didn't speak much. In fact, he barely said a word. But once the ball touched his foot, the conversation began. His control, balance, and vision stunned the coaches. He didn't dominate with strength, he danced with instinct. But Barcelona wasn't quick to act. Weeks passed. Paperwork, legal issues, doubts. His father, Jorge, grew anxious. So did Messi. Then came one of the most important moments in football history. On a napkin, in a Barcelona restaurant, a club official named Carles Rexach wrote and signed Messi's first informal contract. It wasn't formal. It wasn't grand. But it was real. And for Messi, it meant hope. FC Barcelona agreed to bring Leo and his family to Spain and pay for his full medical treatment. At 13, he left everything behind, his friends, his extended family, even his language, to chase a dream in a land where he was a stranger. Was it passion that brought him to Spain? Or desperation? Maybe both. But from that moment forward, Messi knew one thing: the ball was his way out, and his way forward. His passion didn't roar like a lion. It moved like water, quiet, persistent, and impossible to stop. Still, his journey in Barcelona would not be easy. A new country. A new culture. A new level of pressure. And although his legs were getting stronger, his spirit would soon be tested in ways that talent alone couldn't solve. Arriving in Barcelona was not a fairy tale beginning. Lionel Messi may have had talent, but talent doesn't always guarantee acceptance. He was quiet, barely spoke Spanish with the Catalan accent, and his size still made people doubt. At La Masia, Barcelona's elite youth academy, the culture was different. Players were competitive, fast, expressive, everything Leo wasn't, at least on the surface. He missed his mother terribly. For a while, she stayed in Argentina while his father worked in Spain. He was only 13, living in dormitories with other boys, some of whom saw him more as a threat than a friend. There were nights he cried alone. Days he felt invisible. And games where he couldn't quite find his rhythm. The boy who had been the center of attention in Rosario became just another kid with a dream in Barcelona. And then came the injuries. As his body adjusted to treatment and training, Messi was prone to small muscle tears and knee pains. Coaches worried. Was he too fragile? Would his body hold up under professional pressure? Some even whispered he might not make it to the senior team. But Messi didn't fight back with words. He responded the only way he knew how, by showing up to practice early, staying late, and letting the ball speak for him. His control, dribbling, and awareness began to surpass boys older and taller than him. His coaches noticed something rare: Leo didn't play like he was trying to impress. He played like he was solving puzzles, every defender a challenge, every goal a message. By the time he was 15, Messi had developed a reputation as a quiet storm. No drama, no ego. Just execution. And yet, the road wasn't straight. At one point, Messi considered going back to Argentina. He missed his family. He missed being known. He missed the feeling of belonging. But his father reminded him of everything they had sacrificed to come here. So he stayed. And in 2003, at just 16 years old, Lionel Messi made his unofficial debut for Barcelona's first team in a friendly against Porto. He didn't score. He didn't dominate. But the way he moved, the speed, the intuition, left an impression. He was getting closer. Closer to the dream. But the next part of the journey would demand more than talent. It would require boldness, and a life-changing decision number 17-year-old should have to make. So here's a question to think about. Would you leave behind your home, your identity, and your childhood comfort, just for a chance at greatness? Would you? By 2004, Lionel Messi had already begun to attract serious attention. He was just 17 years old when he made his official La Liga debut for FC Barcelona's first team. It was a historic moment, but also one that came with a heavy emotional burden. That same year, Messi faced a decision that would shape not only his football career, but also his identity. Which national team would he play for? Because of his residency in Spain and his time with Barcelona, the Spanish Football Federation invited Messi to play for their national team. It was a tempting offer. Spain had better resources, a more stable system, and fewer internal politics. Choosing Spain could have meant greater security, less travel, and a smoother professional path. But Messi refused. Despite spending his teenage years in Spain, his heart remained in Argentina. He chose the albiceleste, the white and sky blue jersey of his birth country. It was not the smart decision in the eyes of many. But it was the emotional one. The loyal one. The one that made him feel whole. And so began one of the most complex relationships in modern sports, Lionel Messi and the Argentine national team. He made his senior debut in 2005, and was sent off just 2 minutes later. A red card. Some said it was unfair. Others called it symbolic. Either way, it was painful. But Messi returned, again and again. He played for Argentina in Copa Americas, World Cups, and Olympic Games, always trying to bring glory back home. Yet while his success with Barcelona grew rapidly, his national team career was marked by heartbreak. In 2007, Argentina lost the Copa America final. In 2014, they reached the World Cup final, only to lose to Germany. In 2015 and 2016, they lost 2 more Copa finals, both to Chile, in penalty shootouts. Messi was devastated. After the 2016 loss, he announced his retirement from international football. "It's not for me," he said, broken by years of criticism from Argentine fans who expected him to be Maradona, fiery, explosive, emotional. It was perhaps the lowest emotional point of his career. Imagine giving everything to your country, only to be called not passionate enough. Not Argentine enough. But the world responded. Millions of fans around the globe begged him to return. Hashtags trended. Children cried on TV. Even opponents admitted that football without Messi would feel incomplete. Eventually, he came back. And in doing so, something changed. Messi began to speak more in public. He showed more leadership. He smiled more. It was as if the pain had burned away the hesitation, and left behind only purpose. This wasn't just a turning point in his career, it was a turning point in his identity. Messi wasn't just playing for victory anymore. He was playing for vindication. But the greatest moment of redemption, the most dramatic turn of all, was still years away. And when it came, it would be a decision that shook the football world to its core. It was August 2021, and the world of football stood still. After more than 20 years with FC Barcelona, a club that had become not just his team but his home, Lionel Messi was leaving. For fans, it felt impossible. Messi and Barcelona were inseparable. His story was woven into every corner of Camp Nou. His name had become a symbol of loyalty in a sport often dominated by money and ego. But reality was brutal. Barcelona was in financial crisis. Years of mismanagement had left the club drowning in debt. Despite Messi's willingness to take a 50% pay cut, La Liga's financial regulations made it impossible for the club to renew his contract. So, for the first time since he was a boy, Lionel Messi stood without a team. At 34 years old, many wondered, was this the end of his peak? Would he retire quietly, a legend in decline? Instead, he made a bold and emotional move. Messi signed with Paris Saint-Germain, PSG. It wasn't an easy choice. Paris wasn't home. French wasn't his language. The team was full of stars, but it wasn't built around him the way Barcelona had been. He would have to adapt, prove himself all over again, and face the challenge of winning in a new league, under a new spotlight. His first months in Paris were difficult. He struggled with form. His family had to adjust to a new city, a new culture. Critics said he had lost his magic. Some called him a shadow of his former self. But Messi didn't respond with interviews or anger. He responded with patience. With humility. With focus. By the second season, he began to shine again, scoring, assisting, leading. And at the same time, something else was building, the 2022 World Cup in Qatar. This would be his fifth and final World Cup. For Messi, it wasn't just another tournament, it was his last chance to fulfill the dream he had chased since childhood, to win the greatest prize in football for Argentina. The pressure was enormous. Millions watching. Billions expecting. And after a shocking opening loss to Saudi Arabia, critics resurfaced. Was Argentina crumbling again? Would Messi fall short again? But what happened next became the stuff of legend. Messi led with fire. With calm. With heart. He scored. He assisted. He lifted. He inspired. And in the final against France, in one of the most thrilling matches in football history, Argentina won. Messi, at last, lifted the World Cup. Tears flowed. Around the world, even his rivals celebrated. Because in that moment, it wasn't just about football. It was about redemption, resilience, and writing your own ending. But here's a question for you. Why do we often value loyalty over change, even when change is necessary for growth? Would Messi still be the legend he is today, if he had never dared to leave home? By the time Lionel Messi lifted the World Cup trophy in December 2022, his list of achievements had already gone beyond legendary. But that victory, coming in the twilight of his career, gave his story the emotional closure it deserved. He wasn't just a brilliant player anymore. He was a symbol of perseverance, humility, and fulfillment. Let's take a moment to reflect on what he accomplished. With FC Barcelona, Messi won 10 La Liga titles, 7 Copa del Rey trophies, 4 Champions League titles, 3 FIFA Club World Cups. He became Barcelona's all-time top scorer and broke multiple world records, including the most goals in a single calendar year, 91 goals in 2012, a number that still feels unreal. Individually, Messi has won the Ballon d'Or, the award for the world's best player, a record-breaking 8 times. And after years of heartbreak with Argentina, he also delivered. Copa America 2021, Finalissima 2022, and, at last, the FIFA World Cup 2022. But what truly sets Messi apart is not just his stats. It's how he's changed the way people experience football. Unlike many modern stars, Messi rarely dives, rarely provokes, and almost never showboats. His style is simple but beautiful. Precision over power. Intelligence over intimidation. For millions of young athletes around the world, Messi represents the idea that greatness doesn't have to be loud, it can be quiet and pure. Off the pitch, Messi has also made an impact. Through the Leo Messi Foundation, he has supported access to education and healthcare for vulnerable children across Latin America, funded medical research, and donated to hospitals. During the COVID-19 pandemic, he made personal donations to hospitals in Spain and Argentina, quietly, without grand announcements. And socially, Messi has become more than just an athlete. He's a global ambassador for perseverance, especially for people who feel too small, too weak, or too late to succeed. He shows us that even a child with a hormone deficiency, too small to be picked first, can become the best player in the world if he keeps showing up. What's more, Messi has managed to stay grounded in a world where many lose themselves in fame. He avoids political drama, lives a quiet family life, and often seems uncomfortable in the spotlight, a superstar who never really asked to be one. But his fame is undeniable. He's followed by hundreds of millions on social media. His jersey is worn in villages, cities, and stadiums around the world. He's been featured in documentaries, commercials, murals, and even digital NFT tributes. And perhaps most moving of all, children today don't dream of being the next Messi. They dream of playing like Messi, then being themselves. In this way, Lionel Messi's legacy isn't just about winning. It's about liberating. About proving that you don't need to change who you are to be great. You just need to find the game you were born to play. What makes Lionel Messi's story so powerful isn't just his skill, it's what he represents. In a world that often rewards arrogance, noise, and attention, Messi stands for something deeply different: quiet excellence, enduring effort, and loyalty to one's roots. One of the core values Messi expresses is humility. Despite being called the greatest of all time, he rarely speaks about himself in superlatives. When asked how he wants to be remembered, he usually says, as a good person. Not a champion. Not a genius. Just a good person. This modesty is not an act. It's visible in the way he plays, always passing when it's smarter to do so, never demanding the spotlight. And it's visible in his life off the pitch, keeping his family close, avoiding unnecessary drama, and choosing to lead through example, not words. Another key value is resilience. From being told he was too small to compete, to carrying the crushing weight of a nation's expectations for over 15 years, Messi has faced immense emotional and physical pressure. Yet he never gave up. He never let disappointment define him. He simply kept showing up, and let his football speak for itself. And perhaps most powerfully, Messi teaches us about authenticity. In today's world, where so many are encouraged to build a brand or act big to succeed, Messi succeeded by staying true to who he was. He didn't shout. He didn't sell controversy. He just worked, played, and inspired. Even now, as he moves into the later stages of his career, playing for Inter Miami in the US and helping grow football in new corners of the world, Messi continues to influence not just games, but mindsets. He reminds us that your beginnings don't define your future. You can lead without being loud. And you don't need to be perfect, you just need to persist. But here's a final question for you. In a time where being loud often brings more attention than being good, do we still value quiet greatness? Or are we losing the ability to see true brilliance when it isn't broadcast? Messi's story is a chance to reflect. Not just on football, but on how we define success, heroism, and legacy in the modern world. Dear learners, you've just traveled through the remarkable life of Lionel Messi, from a boy whose body told him he wasn't strong enough, fast enough, or tall enough, to a man who became one of the most respected athletes in human history. And what a journey it's been. Messi didn't fight for power. He didn't chase fame. He simply held on to the ball, his dreams, and his quiet courage, and kept moving forward. One game at a time. One pass at a time. One goal at a time. His story reminds us that greatness isn't always loud. It can come from discipline, patience, and showing up every single day, especially when no one is watching. Now, let me ask you something personal. What's your version of the growth deficiency? Maybe you think your English isn't good enough. Maybe you're afraid of being seen or making mistakes. Or maybe you've been told, directly or silently, that your dream is too big for someone like you. But if Lionel Messi could make the world believe in his magic, starting from a tiny town in Argentina, then maybe, just maybe, you can write your own story, too. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs inspiration today. Let's keep the fire of persistence alive, just like Messi did, in his own quiet way. And of course, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you'd like to hear more real stories like this, stories that help you not just learn English, but grow stronger inside. Until next time, keep practicing, keep dreaming, and keep believing in your small steps. Goodbye for now, and see you in the next story.